All right. So, as we do in this episode, at least, we're going to start with some interesting headlines I found from throughout the week. And the first, the first one, I would be interested to see this actually happen. And so the name of the headline says, "What you gonna do when Hulkamania runs for vice president?" According to TMZ, Hulk Hogan, if Donald Trump runs again, would like to be the vice presidential candidate for the United States of America. "I don't want to be in the ring with any candidates," he said. "I want to be Trump's running mate," referring to the businessman leading the Republican field. "I want to be known as Vice President Hogan." The wrestler has been in the news because he was actually, oh yes, well, we don't need that part, but if Donald Trump were to ask me to be his running mate, I would give it very serious consideration, because anything to break up the status quo of this country. This country needs to be shaken up. It needs to be shaken to its very core, and Donald Trump can do that. Trump has not weighed in on a possible Hulk Hogan vice presidency, but he did say in July he would love to have people with a following. How would you guys feel if you saw Hulk Hogan and his 32-inch pythons getting up there in the vice presidential debate against Kamala Harris?
Honestly, that would be cool as shit. Like he'll just call everyone brother. But I actually would rather Steve Austin be the vice president.
Oh, God, yeah.
Every time we have a serious meeting, he's just in the background going, "What?
Bashing beers.
What? I'm gonna do this war. What?
More beer. What?
He'd be in the
You're gonna
debate.
take down Russia? What?"
Kamala would say something. You just hear, "What?" Oh, man.
I don't know. I mean, the sad part is that it's actually possible. Like the country that we are now currently living in, anything really is possible. Like you had Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor of California. Fine. Like having this guy as vice president is something that's scarily possible. And I personally wouldn't like it, because at this point you're just making America a joke and just saying like anyone could just be whatever you want to be. And like, I don't know.
I have to agree with that, Brian. I think it would be funny, like just from like an entertainment standpoint, but if that were to legitimately happen, I don't know if anybody would take our country seriously anymore.
Because they take it seriously now.
Well, that's my point. It would just continue to go down and that direction in which no one wants it to. And now it's like you have Hulk Hogan being the vice president. Like, really?
Well, you can kind of tell he didn't run this by anybody before saying it, wherever he said it publicly. If it was if it was like Twitter or just like someone on the street, like he's like, "Yeah, brother, I'm going to run for vice president," even though you don't run for vice president. But like, he's like, "We need to shake this country up to its roots, and we need Donald Trump to do that." But where does Hulk Hogan fit into that?
I was thinking that.
And the answer is nowhere.
Nowhere. Where are you going? Nowhere.
Could you imagine him? Could you imagine him on stage, just doing his flexing? Going like this to the crowd.
I would want Ric Flair, honestly.
Oh yeah, yeah, but he's
Donald Trump and the Nature Boy.
Oof, be so good.
I think you just got to go with The Rock and Stone Cold. I got to stick with
The Rock is overrated.
The Rock is president, Stone Cold is VP.
I could see The Rock being a VP or like someone in like political power, just because of how much of like leadership he has, and like just I don't know. I
He's
just
also
like
a good speaker. Like I feel like he can public speak pretty well.
The Rock.
I don't think anybody realizes like how long ago the White House was actually built. So I'm sure the doors are way too small for The Rock.
Yeah, he's a big. Well, he's already said that he's interested in. So The Rock, as a standalone candidate, has said he wants to run for president in 2024 or 2028. Like he has brought that up as a possibility. I think, and a lot of people blame that on Trump, but Trump wasn't the first actor we had as a president. Ronald Reagan was on comedy series, made movies. So I just think, though, now you have people like Kanye saying he wants to run for president, and The Rock saying they want to run for president. And
Calvin Coolidge was in a porno.
Is it on Pornhub?
I feel like
Pornhub wasn't around back then, but porn was.
Someone taking a
He was on it. Yeah, they had a little guy under a tent with his little hood on.
What was the
with
name
a camera,
of it?
a Super 8.
Oh my my god! I need him. I need more info on that.
Calvin.
I need more
I
info
feel like
on this.
that would be a good topic. Like, what would that porno be called? Like stepbrother, stepsister, like
Calvin and his cool bitches.
No, that's a terrible name.
Well, here's the thing. I think Stone Cold would make a funny vice presidential candidate, but he's too smart to actually do
You
that.
don't
I think.
need funny.
But no, we need real leadership right now, as we can see. Speaking of issues that are going on in the world today, Russia has been in the news a lot lately, huh? Well, check this out.
For what?
So I got to
Nothing
give
else
you
in the news.
I got to give you some background on this. So 6 years ago, the Russian Defense Ministry bought 5 dolphins as the country strives to revive, or was trying 6 years ago to revive, a Soviet era use of sea mammals for military tests. The U.S. military opened the bidding at 1.7 million ruble, which is $17,000 contract, to deliver the dolphins to the military in the Crimean port city of Sevastopol by August 1st. This was 6 years ago. Well, here's the best part. Now, those dolphins were stationed in the Crimea and now taken possession of by the Russians. I almost said the Soviets, the Russians. And Ukraine wants them back, these military trained dolphins, because for somehow they fell into Ukrainian hands. Apparently, dolphins were used by the Soviet Union and the United States at the height of the Cold War, having been trained to detect submarines, underwater mines, and spot suspicious objects or individuals near harbors and ships. I think the best part about this is that there's the Ukrainians want to send Navy SEALs, which will parlay into our later conversation, to go and apprehend the stolen dolphins. I swear to you, this sounds like it's something right out of Team America World Police.
I think Ukraine is just trying to open up a SeaWorld.
It'd be called Dolphin Tail 3. Move over, Free Willy.
They're called the Crimean. They're called the Crimean Combat Dolphins.
This just the whole way it's written, like it leaves so much up to interpretation. Like there was a contract for $17,000 to get the dolphins there. I want to know who they paid as the dolphin Uber. And then it's again, it's just crazy. Like their job, their role, their porpoise was to identify suspicious individuals. Like, what do they show these dolphins pictures of, like a guy tiptoeing with like money bags and like, hey, arrest that guy underwater if you see him. Like, what the fuck is this nonsense? I can understand like the echolocation for submarines and shit like that.
Yeah.
But beyond that, this is stupid. Just give a guy like underwater binoculars if those don't exist yet. Invent them.
Well, what's crazy is that apparently the dolphins weren't even the first choice for sea mammals to be used in the military. In 2003, after the 9/11 attacks, Operation Enduring Freedom was using sea lions that were deployed to Bahrain to support. They carried military supplies.
What?
When did we get away from just using a car? Like, what happened to vehicles? I'm baffled.
Gas prices.
Listen, I can totally see this going down and them having a meeting and being like, guys, I got this crazy idea. We're going to have unmanned vehicles. And they're like, excellent. We have drone technology. And then the guy just like is like, oh, we have drones. He's like, I was going to use sea creatures.
Hey, think about that though. It's going
an
backwards.
army of
in
lobsters
time.
to bring nukes across the border.
It's going backwards in time. You used to have like carrier pigeons. You would trust an actual bird, like, all right, go deliver this message. How the fuck is the bird gonna know where to go? Now you're gonna trust sea mammals and be like, okay, by the way, we need these M80s overseas by tomorrow. And like, if you don't do it, we're gonna have to call FedEx and rely on that.
M80s. We're fighting the Taliban with fireworks.
Root grenades, yeah.
Is that why we lost?
Probably.
Yeah, pretty much. So funny fact. I got 2 fun facts with that. One, Brian, you brought up pigeons. Believe it or not, a pigeon won the Congressional Medal of Honor in World War I. That's a true story. You can Google that. And 2, bringing up dolphins brought me back to an episode of the Joe Rogan podcast where they talked about how a scientist got in trouble for jerking off dolphins. I don't know if anybody watched it.
So I can say a Medal of Honor is shit in my head before.
Yes.
Nice.
I don't think
So-
that bird won the Medal of Honor.
That's why it's considered good luck.
The crazy part about this, do you know what country has the largest training center for aquatic sea mammals used in the military?
Orlando.
Country.
What country? Yeah.
Orlando.
I didn't say what shithole. I said what country.
The military might of Central Florida is unmatched.
We have
That's what's
manatees.
really-
we have
what's
sea
happening
tanks
in
named
Cuba.
manatees. Not so much. So go ahead, take a guess. What country? Because it's
Australia.
makes no sense to me. It's a landlocked country. Well, I actually don't know if they're landlocked,
A landlocked country?
which makes no sense. Why are you training in sea
Finland.
mammals?
Yeah, but maybe because they're not used to being on the ocean, they see this black thing slither like in the water.
I'm sorry,
like,
they're
what
not
the-
landlocked. They're not landlocked. I'm an idiot.
Okay.
It's in the Middle East.
So I
It's
heard
Bangladesh.
said Switzerland.
Bangladesh.
No, it's actually Iran. The old Soviet Union dolphin training centers were all sold to Iran, and so were all the mammals, and they've kept it alive since. I think this is hysterical because you look at the countries that I'm naming, right? Soviet Union, Russia, Iran. It just seems like this is Dr. Evil in real life asking for dolphins with freaking laser beams on their head. I'm just
The
it's
Iranians
too
thought
much.
blowhole meant something completely
We're-
different.
we're
When they
well
found out, they were just like,
beyond-
fuck.
All right, and for our last our last funny headline, this one gets me. When I looked it up, I had to, there's two reasons why this one is funny to me. I'll read the headline of the study. This is a study that was done in 2014. It has recently come back up because of the higher amount of hurricanes that we're seeing in the world today. And the headline reads, "Female hurricanes are deadlier than male hurricanes."
What?
Here we go. So
When they're on their period.
yeah. So it
What
says
if
the
the hurricane is non-binary?
well, that's kind of what they're getting at with this study. So they're saying that people
God.
judge hurricane risk in the context of gender-based expectations. They use more than 6 decades of death rates from U.S. hurricanes to show that feminine named hurricanes cause significantly more deaths than masculine named hurricanes. Laboratory experiments, which I am dying to see what they did, indicate that this is because hurricane names lead to gender-based expectations with severity, and this in turn guides respondents' preparedness to take protective action. The finding indicates an unfortunate and unintended consequence of gendered naming of hurricanes with important implications for policy members. Before you guys chime in, let me go through some of the things that they said.
This
I'd
is
like
a
to
learning
leave.
podcast.
Research shows that women and men are socialized to have different social roles, as are male and female hurricanes. Men are seen as more strong and competent and aggressive, so people see their hurricanes as such, whereas women are often seen as weak, warm, and passive, so their hurricanes are often ignored. So
Is
Males-
Hurricane Katrina like?
So it
a-
has nothing to do with the strength of the hurricane.
wait. So then they go on. They said men are more likely to commit violence than women. Thus, males are perceived to be more strongly associated than women with negative potencies such as violence and destruction. We extend these findings to hypothesize that the severity of a hurricane with masculine name Victor may be greater than a hurricane named Victoria.
That's
Wait,
Can't even
ridiculous.
read the rest.
Is it just some weird phenomenon where they said, okay, we looked at all these hurricanes and said the ones with women names are more powerful than the males?
Has
Or is it
nothing to
just
do.
because
They
okay,
did
so
not
it's
use that.
societal norms that say these bitches are weak. We can go outside in a hurricane, you end up dying and increasing
Mm-hmm.
the death toll. So it's not hurricanes, it's stupidity. That's all it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Fucking hurricane people.
So
Don't
this
go outside.
this study cost millions of dollars. They're still doing it. They're
Sponsored
calling
by
that,
Midol.
they're calling that hurricanes not be named anymore with male or female names, but non-binary names or names that could be seen as both male, female. Anyway,
Like what? X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3.
What is this hurricane's pronouns first?
Greg,
Um,
the hurricane will decide at the time.
What parts does the hurricane have under its skirt?
well, here's the best part. The organization that is running, I can't even say it. The organization that is running this study is called PNAS. It is.
Solid.
Wait, say it again.
It's the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS, pronounced
My
penis.
This has
It
to
is
be a
now
joke.
pronounced. That's
There-
it.
There's
no
no
way
way
this is
this is real.
By
I
the
swear
way,
to God, guys, I'll send you
We
the
fact
article
check
right now.
this.
I don't
send you-
condone the male hurricanes that cause violence. I don't condone violence as a male speaking. So just want to put that on the record.
I don't know if I could share the screen because we don't have approval from this group to share their
Let's
information
not. Yeah,
publicly.
don't share.
It-
But
it's okay.
after
I
the
mean-
show, I'll send you guys the link to the actual study. They have graphs and everything. It's pretty interesting. But
I'll
yes.
show you a graph.
Anyway, I know there's another one we wanted to talk about here because of rising gas prices and Shaquille O'Neal recently, a theory of his resurfaced. Andrew, you wanted to go over that, right, bud?
Yeah. You know what? Like we were also talking about The Rock before. I feel like The Rock and Shaquille O'Neal are like one of those rare humans that is universally loved. Like Shaquille O'Neal I feel like no one hates Shaquille O'Neal. Like anytime he talks, people laugh. He's a good time. No one hates him.
DJs, he dances. I love the guy.
Yeah.
Obi
But,
hated him for a while.
Anyway, I kind of feel like a buffoon because I thought this video was just like it came out last week or whatever, but apparently it's from 2018 and it's kind of just resurfaced on the internet. So Shaq was on TNT's NBA show, and one of the other hosts on the show his name is Kenny Smith. He was just talking about gas prices at the time and how he did not want to spend $80 for a full tank of gas. And to which Shaq responded, basically, I'm going to shorten it a little bit, but he was saying, instead of paying for a full tank for $80, how about you just don't let your gas get to less than a half a tank? And when it gets to a half a tank, put $20 in so it gets to 3/4 a tank. And then when it goes back to a half a tank, you just put another 20 in. So when I first heard this, I had the same reaction everyone else on the show did. Like my brain went through like a ninja blender. But I didn't do the math on it. But it kind of makes sense. Like if you're going to take a bite of a shit sandwich every time you pay for gas, I feel like if you do it the way Shaq does, you're taking smaller bites of that shit sandwich.
I would rather
Right.
eat a
You're
shit
still eating a whole
sandwich
sandwich.
once every 2 weeks rather than take a bite of a shit sandwich
And
3
taste it every
times
week.
a week.
Yeah.
And that theory makes no sense because I think the audio clip actually said him saying, "Oh, you put $20 in and it goes to full." First of all, that would mean that from empty it would cost $40, not 80.
He did rephrase though. I think
You
since
did,
it
okay.
resurfaced, he mentioned that he meant it to go
You're
to
still-
quarters.
You're still going to be spending the same amount. It's just broken out over time.
Maybe
Like,
even
if
more
you- if
depending
you
on how far you're
tracked-
driving.
If you tracked, and not even what car you're driving, if you track how much money you put in your of gas in your car every month, it's going to be the same. Because if you're putting in $80, you'll probably fill up once every 2 weeks versus putting in $20, which will be, every couple of days. So it all equals out.
I think
Yeah,
that
if you're going by those numbers, then he basically it's 6 one way, half a dozen another. Because he's like, oh, if you're spending $80 to fill up a whole tank, why don't you just spend $20 to put in a quarter of a tank? It's four
It's
quarters is still $80. You're adding a step to your week to go get gas more frequently, which is probably going to, like Matt said, piss you off more because you're going to constantly go into the gas station.
It's a time value of money thing. Sorry. So it's a time value of money thing. It's either A, do you want to take the money that you have in your pocket and throw it into your gas tank now?
Yep,
Or do you
exactly.
want to just get by and just use that money for something else?
Yep.
That's all.
I
it
was-
is.
Ryan, that's
It's not,
exactly
it's
what
not
I was
like
gonna
it's
say.
cheaper to buy less gas.
Yeah.
It just hurts less because, like, if you're seeing $80 drained from your bank every time you fill up, it hurts more. It stings a lot more versus 20. Like, that's more manageable for people to, it's an easier
And
pill to swallow.
Another point also is like, let's say you bring your gas all the way down to E and some emergency happens where you have to really break the bank. At least you're not spending $100, $80 on a full tank. At least your gas is at a half a tank and you only have to put another 20 in.
It's
Yeah.
also not good for the car to let your tank drain all the way to empty. Like,
Is
you're
that
supposed
still a
to-
thing or is that something from like 1980?
I don't know. My father-in-law is a mechanic. He always said you never want to let it drain more than a quarter. And I've always been into cars. You guys know that. And I don't know if it's just like an old wives' tale. I'm sure we could fact check it, but I've heard it was always bad to let your car drain all the way to empty.
Yeah.
you should always let it go to like a quarter.
I feel like that's in the same line or vein as turn the light off, Anthony. I'm going to get arrested. Remember when we used to turn the light on in the car at night and your parents would scream at you,
Yeah.
like, turn that off, we're going to get arrested. But before I know Brian wanted to chime in there. I think what bothers me about this whole gas thing, though, and people being outraged about it is, number one, they're blaming it on Putin, which isn't totally true. And but number two, they're complaining about paying $4.55 a gallon while they spend $7 on a coffee from Starbucks. Every
don't
day.
hate on Starbucks. I always get vote from Starbucks.
You're not buying 1 gallon of gas though.
Right, you're buying. I know I filled up my truck yesterday. It cost me over $100 for the first time, and that was insane.
You're
It
wasting
was
a gallon of
wild.
gas in the Starbucks drive-through too.
Sitting there waiting every morning.
Yeah.
Touche.
But,
Now that's financial advice I can get behind.
I was at
What
like
about
10
this? Oh, go ahead, Jacob. Go
I
ahead.
was at like half a gallon. I was at half a tank the other day, and it was right when gas prices started to shoot up, right before we went over 4. And I said to myself, I'm going to fill up now just to get it out of the way. 10 gallons was like $70. It was absolutely ridiculous.
That's $7 a gallon.
Yeah, but
Not true.
I don't know. It was ridiculous. It was probably like 12 gallons. I don't remember the exact numbers, but no, just circle back real quick. I think it's pointless to do that. Put $20 in, just because what if you work like 20 miles away and you're driving every day?
Oh, it's true.
If say like my job, if I were to be going in the office, is like between 20 and 25 miles from my apartment. So you're doing that 5 days a week. You're gonna have to do that all the time.
Yeah,
It's not just like a once a week thing.
It's rough. It's rough on families too, and I think that what we're seeing too is just a lack of humanity by our own government. You have these idiots that are up there talking, including our president, who say, "Well, if you can't afford gas, get a Tesla." No, not everybody has $70,000 to go buy a car.
So-
It's pretty.
I can't
it's
afford. I
pretty
can't afford a
heartless.
$70 fill up. I can't afford a $70,000 electric vehicle.
What I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around is it's not like they're trying, like I know they're trying to go green and build back better and build crack better, whatever you want to call it. But what I don't understand is why the drilling is still taking place. It's just not happening within the United States. So is our impact that large? I don't think so. It just doesn't make sense to me because we're importing it from other countries and we're getting millions and millions of barrels. So it's still being drilled. Why not just do it here? And you can still push the green agenda. Just
It's
lower the gas prices.
It's the same mentality, and I'm going to bring up. I know we didn't publish this episode. But I'm going to bring up the Nazis again for a second, because what the U.S. government is doing, it's like virtue signaling, right? It's what the Nazis did. Not one concentration camp was in Germany. Why? Because they wanted to lie to their people and tell them it wasn't going on. Well, if they don't have any drilling in the U.S., they can act as if the United States is this green beacon for safe environments and just keep buying foreign oil. But at the same time, if China and Russia and India, they're three bigger countries, right, who provide a lot more pollution to the world, aren't doing it, then why are we getting all bent out of shape about just drilling our own and using our own pipelines in a more efficient way to make gas cheaper for American citizens until renewable energy becomes a more mainstay in the United States? I
agree.
They're pushing this agenda, right? And they want people to go and get Teslas and electric cars. But at the same time, they haven't even solved the root of the problem. Our power plants, our electric power plants, everything, most of them run on natural gas and oil. So why not fix that first before you try and goat me into getting a $70,000 Tesla and just make my gas back down to $1.75? It's ridiculous. And we all, luckily, the 6 of us have good jobs, right? We're making good money. But imagine a family only making $30,000 a year and trying to put $120 in your gas tank every week.
You guys are getting paid.
Which is most people in America.
Which is most people in America, right? The median income in America right now is only about $58,000, I believe, something like that. You can Google me on that. I'm not totally positive on that.
Fun fact: base reservation on a Tesla Roadster is $50,000.
That's
interested in one of
Dodge Ram pickup. That's insane.
Yeah.
and that's just the reservation.
And that's
the
not even
reservation.
including the cost of the electric. They're oh, we can install solar.
That's
I
not
went
even
to the Tesla dealership.
That's not the cost of the whole car.
Right. I went to the Tesla dealer a couple of years ago, and it may have changed, but when I was there, they were telling me about all these incentives that you get. It goes back to the government. You don't get it. And that's
yeah.
I was shocked when I heard that because they're pitching it as you get all this money off, and like when if you actually go to Tesla's website, it'll tell you what the actual price of the car is, and then it'll tell you what the actual value, quote unquote, is, and they deduct the amount of gas that you would be spending per year from the price of the car, so it makes you think it's a lot cheaper. Look, if you don't believe me, go check it out. I was looking.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying it's not
bullshit.
It's too good. It's too good to be true almost.
Right. And all of the really cool electric cars, and I'm not hating on, Chevy or anything, but like I don't want to be driving like a Zip Zap around town. Like I want to be putting like an Audi or like a Tesla, something cool. Like I don't want to be driving a shopping cart.
I want to drive a tank.
That electric. Yeah, that electric Porsche would definitely. I would buy that in a heartbeat if I had the money.
Amazing.
But
it's amazing.
See, how much is
that's a
that?
pipe dream.
No, at the same time, like if you can like really engineer electric vehicles to be the way that regular vehicles like gas powered vehicles look, like it's for me it's more like, well, obviously I want to save the environment too, but the way some vehicles look just look terrible. Like it's just so stupid. Like, okay, if you told me like, okay, here's a Ford Raptor and you told me it was 100% electric, I'd still drive it 100%. It's just the looks for me.
Yep. Yeah,
it's the base model Porsche Taycan is $82,000. That's base model.
Yeah, I would take that over a Tesla.
What's the average price for an electric car? Like just in general.
They're like in the 40s.
They're in the 40s, the 50s, but the reason why the other thing too, and Elon Musk has come out and said this publicly, until energy is mass produced renewably, right? Whether it's wind, water, solar, nuclear power, whatever it might be. Until that happens, no amount of citizens buying electric cars is going to make a dent in the environment.
Yeah.
Because you have countries around the world like India, like China, that are completely tanking the environment more than any other country. And so until you fix that, like Elon Musk, and I love Elon. I read his biography. I think he's a brilliant psychotic alien from another place. But he said, he goes, if the world governments would pay him, he could in 1 year end our reliance on oil. Because if you built 100 of the Tesla gig factories, 100 of them in Africa, in 1 year would provide enough solar power to power the entire planet.
Dude, I feel like there's a reason they don't do that. And
he's like, of course there is.
Not a conspiracy theorist or anything, but it's all about money, right? Because I agree that this whole go green and pushing electric is definitely a step in the right direction. But the way they're going about it, and they're basically steamrolling people to be like, all right, well, you don't want to get an electric car yet. We're just going to make gas prices unaffordable. That way you have no choice but to get an electric car. And by the year, 2030 something, they're banning the sale of brand new gas powered cars in certain states, New York being one of them.
It is a money thing because in 11th grade, I'm not going to disclose what year it was, but it was quite a long time ago. But 11th grade in chemistry, we watched a documentary about electric cars. I think they came out with a small example of cars. They were convertibles that were run electric, and they gave them out to celebrities, and people like Mel Gibson and other celebrities loved them. They were asking how they can buy these cars and stuff, and they said, you can't buy them, we actually have to have them back. And they burnt all the cars and they never were seen again.
What?
So of course it's a money thing.
That's such a dated story because the first name was Mel Gibson. That's how you know it was 2012. But the other thing too is
it was earlier.
When I was a teacher, we used to talk about this, the military industrial complex. You had a president 4 years ago who came in from the outside, and we had no war for the first time in almost 50 years. The moment he leaves, we have conflicts in the Middle East. We've got war now in the Ukraine because war makes money for all these corporations.
Yeah.
It just keep, and they want in conflict because it creates opportunities for money. And when we start to, as a citizenry, actually stop fighting with each other and realize that they're all against us, they could take their Tesla and ram it right up their ass for all I care. I want my gas down, and it's just.
I think a big problem that a lot of people aren't talking about with this whole entire going green is you got cows farting everywhere, ruining the whole entire ozone.
True.
Oh my god,
damn cows!
They've actually brought that up, and that's why Bill Gates wants us to rely on this bioengineered beef product instead of eating real beef harvested
AKA
from cows.
the Impossible Burger. Now they're going to try to push everybody to go vegan or plant-based.
Right.
Because cows fart.
That's
What about
exactly the
people?
plan, because they want people to not rely on cows so much, because you're having more cows and it takes more manpower and mechanical power to raise, feed, slaughter these cows, which produces its own sort of emissions, and then the cows themselves raise emissions. But
So-
that's the stupidest crock of shit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So they're saying save the cows, but we need to eat worse shit for our body. Like,
Correct.
the vegan diet is filled with soy. Like, soy is so fucking bad for you. And that's all that vegan stuff is. Like, when you read the ingredients on all that shit, it's like
A lot of
your
black
vegan
beans
meat
and
is
like
not healthy.
chickpeas
It's
and
not.
stuff. Yeah.
How about this? If everyone goes vegan, you know how much shit's going to be in this world? Do you know what all those vegetables are going to do to you? You're going to be
Yeah.
crapping 3-4 times a day. That's
But
insane.
what people don't realize is, like what Greg's saying, you're bioengineering these things. You're gonna start going to more of like vegetables. People have to farm those things, right? So how you gonna run a tractor? How you gonna run all the
Right, but if
machinery and the equipment?
A vegetable doesn't produce methane by the.
You
I
know
don't
what?
How do you measure methane in gallons?
I was just going to ask that question.
think,
I would love to measure.
points for
$5 a gallon for methane out of a cow's ass.
We all need to get the machine that measures methane, and we need to compare Greg's farts to a cow's farts, and then we'll really find the true cause of global warming.
That's a great podcast topic.
Oh my god! They
I'll
measure
put it in a jar
methane.
and send it
They,
to you.
Through a
they
sniffer.
measure methane through a sniffer. That's hysterical. That's what they call
Sniffer?
that
Really?
machine.
My wife should get a
That's-
job there because she would fucking kill it. She smells it before it comes out. She's like, Matt, don't even think about it. I'm like, how do you know this? You're like a
Oh my
wizard.
God.
I
And you know
can
what's
hear it.
funny too, and you and Jake knows this from his fiance and other, but just all these other diets. A lot of doctors will tell you meat's not the problem; it's the level of the amount of meat that you consume. And they made meat out to be like this enemy, right? If you just cut it down a little bit, whether it's through the Mediterranean diet or keto, well, keto is a lot of high meat, but you could do it the right way and it's not a lot of meat. I think you're healthier. I think you're 10 times healthier.
They did the same thing against fat years ago, and like what was
Yeah.
it? The
60s or
was that in the
70s?
fifth? It was decades ago, but they basically hired and paid several doctors or scientists, and they came out and said fat is bad for you, sugar is fine. And it's obviously now known that fat is fine for you as long as it's consumed in proper amounts, and sugar is fucking terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I think everything is okay in moderation, but like some
Bingo.
people do have
Yeah.
legitimate health concerns and health issues where they can't have meat or fat, or they really have to limit it. Like myself, I'm on medication. I'm not really supposed to be having red meat because I have cholesterol problems and it's hereditary. Like a couple years ago, you guys remember when I, had my numbers checked, I cut everything out cold turkey for 6 months. I didn't have any cholesterol, no red meat, no dairy, no nothing, and my cholesterol was still high. Like the doctor said, your number should have been below like a 120, and it was still like close to 200. So like it agrees, but I think it just depends.
Yeah, I mean, like, kind of the same as Matt. Everything's good in moderation. Not everything. There's some stuff you should not have even in moderation, but a lot of stuff like red meat's fine in moderation. But like someone like my fiance, she has pancreatitis. If you have pancreatitis, you can't. I saw him by the dog when all of you guys just giggling like little school children over here. Oh my god!
It's just Matt brought the whole mood of this.
In my forehead,
Matt-
trying not to laugh.
Matt brought the whole
Anthony and
mood.
Brian are bright red right now.
I'm gonna kill myself, and it's
my
your fault.
God.
Matt's over here literally committing suicide. And then you just go, yeah, man, I agree with you, Matt. Hey, listen, I'm just dying laughing because Matt got so real. So fast.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
I'm fucking crying.
I saw Andrew. I saw Andrew start walking away, and I couldn't hold it in.
I couldn't tell what Andrew was doing. I just see him turn around. Like, why is he turning around as Brian's speaking? That's that threw me off.
What made it worse? What made it worse is I'm over here trying to hold in my laughter while Jake's talking about his fiance who suffers from pancreatitis.
I'm sorry.
Well, I had to stop.
He's on the ground.
Oh man, I'd like it known Andrew is in a room from Willy Wonka. You look so tiny when you walk away from the camera. The size of the door compared to him.
I'm back, guys. What happened? What I miss?
So, Jake, would you like to finish your point, or you want to move on?
No, I don't want to finish my point over here.
No. All right. So listen, I think that was cool because speaking of interesting topics that make
that
you
was
just
cool.
kinda...
Matt's gonna kill himself. That was cool.
Matt,
Put
wait,
the hotline number at the
wait,
end of the video.
Close from stopping from laughing.
speaking of funny stories about Matt, and we don't have to air this part, but Matt, what did you do the night you found out you were pregnant with the vacuum?
Well, after I found like the stick, I was like,
The stick is the pregnancy test, by the way.
It didn't really hit me until like 11 p.m. at night, and it was my wife's in the bedroom, and she hears the vacuum turn on, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm sobbing in the living room in the dark, and the only thing that's lighting up the house are the headlights on the vacuum. I'm vacuuming the same piece of carpet for like 5 minutes. I'm like, my life is over.
Matt's brain completely broke when he found out.
He's sitting there going, "I got high cholesterol and a baby."
No, it's not like we weren't planning for it. It happened faster than I had anticipated and expected. So it was just like a shock to me. I'm just like, fuck, I need to vacuum the carpet right now.
Misses, man.
Anyway,
the only thing I control.
This, what speaking of interesting stories that kind of make you ask yourself, are you kidding me? And that's kind of where sometimes you just got to think, this is what makes me think we're in a simulation, is all this crap happening. But recently the Pentagon came out and asked the Supreme Court to allow it to stop the deployment of unvaccinated Navy SEALs. So I'll go through the story a little bit, and then we'll discuss this. The Biden administration is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to reinstate a major portion of its program mandating members of the military to be vaccinated against COVID. In a January federal district court judge in Texas issued an order barring the Navy from requiring all SEALs to be vaccinated. The Fifth Circuit Court of the Appeals upheld the order. So until this point, right, this was that SEALs don't need to be vaccinated. They can be deployed. The SEALs had sued and they won. Now, in an emergency appeal, the U.S. Supreme Court, the Defense Department, is arguing that the lower courts have usurped the president's core constitutional power. Before you guys respond, I do want to go in on that in a second, and by extension, the military's power to make decisions as to which service members should be deployed to execute some of the military's most sensitive and dangerous missions. At that, the Pentagon said in its brief, imperils military readiness, noting that in one case, the Navy has already been forced against its best judgment to deploy an unvaccinated Navy SEAL for duty on a close-quartered submarine. Vice Chief of Naval Operations William K. Lesher filed a sworn declaration in the case saying that the illness of even one member of a small SEAL team due to COVID-19 could compromise a mission. He said it would be a dereliction of duty to allow unvaccinated personnel into an environment in which they risk the lives of others. The case is now in the Supreme Court as we speak. The provide that service members who are not vaccinated, regardless of exemption status, may be temporarily reassigned, optional readiness, and military mission requirements pending. So right now, the Pentagon is not allowing these guys to be deployed for sensitive missions. And the part that I don't like about this article too is the language it uses, that the Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court, the Pentagon and the president are using words like usurped, as if this is 1600s monarchies fighting for power right now. And so there's just a lot of stuff. So I would love to hear your guys' points on this. Kind of where do you see this going? Is this the right thing that we should be doing as a country when you have a war going on and innocent people dying in the Ukraine, where the Navy SEALs could go and help? I mean, let's remember, the Navy SEALs are not particularly a task force that goes in to kill. They go in to stop hostage situations. That's their main duty. And that's why they want these guys in there. So I'm interested to hear what your guys' take is on all this.
Honestly, I think it's ridiculous. Like, I get it. Like I think there are some vaccination requirements in the military, like that you need to have, but something for COVID where that it's not that it's not real. Obviously it is, but these are some of the most elite people in the world fighting and going through these trainings that are trained like no one else. To say you can't go onto a mission to stop, say like to save lives or do anything like that because you don't have a vaccine to potentially make someone else on your team sick is crazy because you're out there risking your life anyway. Who cares if you have a vaccine or not? I just think it's bizarre. I
Yeah.
disagree with it.
Yeah. So I've been fascinated with Navy SEALs ever since the Osama bin Laden raid. And really, people forget at the time when that happened, people really didn't know that much about the Navy SEALs. They were kind of like this mystery. And then when more and more information came out about SEAL Team 6, it was like, who is SEAL Team 6? Like, we really didn't know that much about them. And then really since then, you know, there's been shows about them literally called SEAL Team 6. And a lot of Navy SEALs have come out with books talking about unclassified missions and stuff. It's just like, they are like the backbone of this country. Like, they're not human beings, they're ultimate warriors. And everything they've done, going through Hell Week, going through the training weekly, like what Brian said, we're letting a vaccine stop them from protecting this country and from helping others. And one quick example I want to give is, you know, most of this country loves football. And the biggest story in the NFL, thank you, Greg. And the biggest story in the NFL was when Aaron Rodgers tested positive for COVID. And people forget that week they were playing the Kansas City Chiefs. So we were about to see Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes, which we don't see a lot. Instead, we saw Patrick Mahomes versus Jordan fucking Love. The Packers don't believe in Jordan Love so much that they had his parents sit in the last row of the stadium. I'm not even exaggerating. Look up the video. It's insane. But if people were outraged about that, times that by literally a fucking million to what this story is and how serious it is that we're not sending our best out there. And if you know anyone who's a Navy SEAL, I guarantee you they would fight with their brothers if they had 110-degree fever. They would fight with their brothers if they had no arms, no limbs. The fact that we're stopping them from the vaccine, from going out there with their brothers, is insane to me. And
so to me, it kind of falls in the same category as the nurses and the firefighters and all the first responders when they force them to get the vaccine, because it's just so quickly it's crazy how quickly the media or any outlet that can push public information as quickly as they do out to the general public, and people will be naive enough to believe it. But those people were considered heroes, right? Like people were standing out in front of hospitals holding signs up back in like March, and like just holding signs like, you're a hero, thank you. Fast forward 2 years later, they're like, fire these people. It's like, what changed over the past 2 years where now these people who you looked at as heroes and who were in the weeds, in the thick of the shit, saving people's lives, and then now you're just going to pull them from their jobs, like fathers, mothers. Just because you don't have the vaccine, you're like, all right, well, fuck off, you're not good enough to work here. Like, now I want to know what's going to happen. Now that the vaccine mandate's lifted, are these people going to get their jobs back?
I was just going to say to your point before you finish, because I didn't want to lose that thread, was now my sister-in-law is a nurse. She could test positive for COVID and then 5 days later be back at work because she's vaccinated. But a healthy, unvaccinated nurse can't work. This has kind of gone off the rails a little bit, as you're noting. And, you know, just to add one part of the article I forgot to mention, and then I know, Greg, you're going to go here. The Navy response to this, well, remember, the Navy is trying to litigate this against the SEALs. The Navy and the Pentagon are the ones kind of attacking the SEALs here. But the SEALs representation said, you guys are acting as if COVID is the number one risk that SEALs face. How about everything from gunshot wounds to parachute accidents to explosions to terrorists to hand-to-hand combat to dying of some rare disease located in the Middle East in some desert we're not supposed to be? There's a greater magnitude and risk that we face far more than a virus. Like, put it in perspective. Go ahead, Greg.
That was kind of my point of there's much bigger things at stake here. They're making it out to seem like if they don't get vaccinated, like they're gonna die from COVID, whereas these guys signed up. They know full well the risks of what the job entails, and they, like Kanza said, or what Andrew said, would fight tooth and nail to go be there and get that job done. It's also asinine to think that they're still litigating this when COVID has now been a thing of the past for coming on 3 weeks. But there's so much more at stake than just getting specific service members the COVID vaccine, because, and we've seen it in regular sports even, that athletes have to retire because they got the vaccine and they have some new, I don't want to call it an ailment because it's not just like a sickness, but it's a new condition that they have to live with, and they can't maintain that high level of readiness that they experienced before. So if you're going to expose these Navy SEALs, who are the best of the best of the best, to a vaccine that's going to put them at below their best, then what are you doing here? You're missing the forest for the trees, so to speak.
Yeah.
You want your SEALs ready to go at a moment's notice. Just because they have this one vaccine is nonsense. And the thing about the submarine makes no sense. Like, if you were on a submarine when COVID started, you're probably in the safest place in the world.
As isolated as you can be.
There's got to be no way COVID's getting into a submarine.
Exactly.
The only people more isolated than them are the people who are in the International Space Station, which I'm throwing out there. Must be really awkward for the Russian and American cosmonauts up there. But anyway, kind of just to rehash what you guys said, specifically about the Navy SEALs. I mean, you said it, we all said it before. You know, these are the guys who are volunteering to be the best of the best. These guys are the top, particularly SEAL Team 6. And for these heroes to not be able to go out there and serve and do what they do best, do better than what anybody else in the world could do, and they can't do it because they didn't get the vaccine, that's just ridiculous. There's no other words to say it other than that's just ridiculous. And also, to add on to what Andrew brought up about Aaron Rodgers, what I find really funny about everything, I always laugh whenever I saw it. So if a player was unvaccinated in the NFL, they had to wear a mask if they're on the sidelines. You had to go out there and walk around in a mask. So you got Carson Wentz. He was probably one of the more famous football players who was unvaccinated. You got him running around the sidelines without a mask, with a mask on. And then he goes inside a huddle surrounded by 10 other guys without a mask on, whispering in their ears. The hell's the point?
Yep.
What is the point? It's just idiotic.
Makes no sense.
So I think just, regardless of your beliefs on whether you should get vaccinated or not get vaccinated, I think we can all agree nothing makes sense anymore. None of the rules make sense. They've all gone completely off the rail.
The sports thing, and I want to piggyback on what you said there, but in particular with the military, though. And we're not just talking about the military at whole. We're not talking about the Marines, the Army. We're talking about a select group of highly trained, the pinnacle of our military, right? I just think it's an unfair, it just makes no logical sense to me. And it seems like a complete and total PR stunt. And it's just another reason why I think the current administration and government that we have right now is wholly unreliable, underprepared to actually be in a leadership role. They've proven that over the last 2 years now. But when you look at this, just to go on your sports comment, Jake, where it makes no goddamn sense, you've got Kyrie Irving can buy tickets, sit courtside with no mask on because he's unvaccinated, but can't actually play in the game because he doesn't have a vaccine. It's just, but it's the same idea that's going on in America today. But I like what Matt said too, and it's a question that the government's going to need to ask is, okay, so you're dropping these vaccine mandates. Are you going to go give all those people their jobs back? Are you going to give them severance pay and reparations for the fact that you just canned them for no reason whatsoever? People who you relied on a year prior to this to do the job. It's unbelievable. I know, Andrew, you wanted to jump in here.
No, I like we're not saying that COVID isn't real. Like, I don't want people to think that what we're saying is like COVID is not a real thing. Like, we all know someone who's been affected by COVID. It's just the whole purpose of this vaccine is not really what it's supposed to be. And when you connect it with the SEALs and what's going on right now, it's more of a statement, a political statement more than anything. It's not realistic.
Propaganda.
Yeah, that was the word I was looking for.
Well,
I got you.
at what point though, and just to kind of go on this too, and Matt
That's
brought
what
up
I
the-
do when I see a nice pair of titties. I got to take a nice propaganda.
It took me a minute.
It took me a few. Yeah.
That's amazing. But when you look at this too, right now, why is it okay for our
It
government?
just clicked.
I want you guys to think about this. Why is it okay for our government to pay media outlets to advertise the vaccine?
Yeah.
Why is that okay?
Because
Like,
I feel
that's
like
a-
Pfizer and a lot of these companies control a lot of it.
Why are they briefing TikTok stars on the war in Ukraine?
Because
Again,
they
it makes
have
no
a lot of
sense.
it makes perfect sense.
It does
because
make sense.
those TikTok followers have a massive following. So they know that they have and they can pull a huge audience. So they're like, all right, if we can control and pay these people to say certain things, all these people are going to listen to them. So let's do it.
They control the narrative.
They control
Joe
exactly.
Biden is the president of the goddamn United States of America.
No,
if
he's
he
not.
can't reach these people and tell them in
Apparently,
a somewhat
apparently
coherent fashion,
he reached 81
he's-
million from his basement.
You can't
Right.
even reach a
If
toilet
he-
paper.
if he can't make his voice heard as the president of the United States of America, and you have to reach out to TikTok stars to do it for you, like you've
Let me
lost.
ask you a question.
You've lost
Is
the
that-
game. Give up. Give up.
Let me ask you a question though. Is that more of a reflection of the problem of our society or a problem of our leadership?
Both.
Both. They're
Both.
connected.
We have
Because-
as a teacher, I saw it that my students would question my history lesson that was based in fact because they can find different crap on TikTok and social media, and
Right.
where you have
From
people
non-experts.
valuing, you don't value the expert of, like, you take a political science expert, right? I think we can all agree Ben Shapiro has probably got more expertise in political science than most of us, if not all of us. But
And the
people
six of
won't
us put
listen.
together.
All of us.
Yeah, right. So probably more than most of the world, but they'll negate him because Jake Paul said something different on social media.
Yeah.
This is the society we live in. And the one thing I'll give the Democrats and the Biden administration credit for is they see that and they capitalize on it by giving Ukrainian briefs to TikTok stars and funding a vaccine mandate or vaccine advertisements for news stations. Like they know that it's happening, and they're like, well, we'll just keep on paying this so we get the support from that side. And it's sad because now truth is something that's so bad. Like, you can't speak truth anymore, or you get called a misogynist, a racist, a bigot, and
That's
they just throw
because
those words out.
we
But
went
Greg,
from
This
hold on,
goes,
Greg.
this goes
Greg had
back
something.
to Donald Trump being president and trying to get rid of TikTok. And it's not just like I
That's a good
hate
point.
that sort of platform kind of thing. There was reasons behind it. The way any company operates in China, the government has to get the information of those involved. So any user of TikTok, their information is then given to the government. What do they do with that information? I don't know, but do with that information what you will. Second, the algorithm in China and the algorithm in the US are basically set up in the complete opposite end of like a spectrum. So in China, everything on the algorithm is showed to you based on like STEM sciences, so like science, technology, engineering, mechanics, all that stuff. It puts that stuff at a higher priority of showing the other users than everything else. And in America, it's the dumbest shit, not the smart shit. It's the dumbest shit that gets pushed to the top of the algorithm, and that's what's showed to the users. And it's like a stark difference of what they want you to see and what they want you to
100%.
consume.
100%. And like, I was just going to comment, sorry, Greg, before it's just, we just went from the age previously of information to disinformation. So it's like, how do you like, nobody believes anything that they see anymore. Like that's really scary. Like nobody can trust like
because anyone can have a voice.
Right. And previously trusted sources. People are like, do I believe that? Or is it just some, writer having his own opinion and spin on this? It's sad that nobody can trust these so-called trusted sources anymore.
Yeah. And then like you look at some of these who are supposed to be trusted sources, like we're saying, the journalists, a lot of them have in their contracts, and not a lot of people notice in their contracts, they get like likes or viewership contract bonuses. So the more people who follow their pages, the more likes they get, the more views, their numbers go up. So they're going to go out there and they're going to say whatever the hell they want to say because it's going to generate more money for them. So bye integrity. It's all about getting more money.
It's not about who's right or who's telling the truth. It's about who's first with a hot headline that gets views, and they don't care. They don't redact their words. They don't apologize. They don't get in trouble. There's no accountability, and they don't care. What the unfortunate thing, I think that's, and I know we kind of started with unvaccination, Navy SEALs, but it's all kind of in that same realm of disinformation, misinformation, not giving a crap about what's actually going on and caring about stupid problems. The worst thing that's happening in our country, though, today is if I think CNN recently did a poll. Now, not that I trust CNN or any news station, but this poll is actually pretty alarming. That I think it said something like 63% of United States voters between the age of 18 and 40, which is the largest voting base, one of the largest voting bases, do not trust our electoral process anymore. That should be so, it gives me goosebumps to even say that, because that right there is the death of a common, respectable democracy. Because if I don't believe in my electoral process or my vote, because of all this crap we're talking about, right? Misinformation's about vaccines and TikTok influencers and all this crap. Well, where is the integrity in the U.S. government then? Where is the integrity in our society? And that's kind of a microcosm of what we're seeing now, where people value the opinion of someone like, nothing against Jake Paul, but they value his opinion and Charlie D'Amelio above
everything.
Ben Shapiro and like Jordan Peterson, who are brilliant minds. And by the way, both, this is the part that I love. And Jake, we've talked about this. When you have a view that doesn't go in line with their messaging, they throw words out that make no sense, because they called Ben Shapiro an anti-Semite.
Yeah,
I laughed I could not believe that they called this man that. He is a proud Jewish man who wears a yarmulke every day.
I was just about to say that he
literally
does his podcast with the yarmulke.
And they called him, and they called Jordan Peterson a misogynist, and he's like holds up his daughter all the time and holds up women all the time. It's just unbelievable to me.
Yeah,
sorry, that was my soapbox moment there, but go ahead. I don't know if it's someone.
I mean,
they try to break you down.
Yeah, and like just to give the administration or just the government some credit here, it's like you can't just solely blame them, because it's the people who elected these people into office. So at the end of the day, it's though, if you're going to point fingers and blame, and try to put fault, it's those people's fault at the end of the day, because you elected those officials to be in office, and that was the agenda they were going to run with. So they already had this plan. It's just those people who put them there.
And man, I think that's a great point. And the way I kind of look at this, like the internet and everything else, like social media, I think is great. And this kind of goes back to our conversation earlier. Everything needs to be within moderation. You have to eat meat within moderation. If you're going to be on social media and scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, and following these people like a Jake Paul, these public figures, that's fine. But people and society need to be able to do their own research and formulate their own opinions without just being monkeys, because then that's just creating more problems itself.
The problem, going back to what Matt said, is yes, it's partially the people elected that are to blame, and partially the people doing the electing to blame. But at the same time, it's like, well, you only have two options. So you either vote for the one guy that you don't like, or you vote for the other guy that you like even less. So you're kind of hamstrung.
Yep.
So
right,
it's
that's
like,
what it comes down to.
you're like in a funhouse mirror, like pointing at who's to blame, and it's always pointing at somebody else and somebody different. Meanwhile, it's like an endless cycle of kind of them getting what they want.
Yeah, and like I unfortunately think that like we have to be in this position right now in order to like even take steps in the right direction to get better. Like I honestly truly feel it's only going to get worse before it starts to get better, and then that's when things will start to change.
Joe Rogan had it on his podcast, and I mean, he didn't come up with the quote. It's a famous quote from years, like decades ago, but strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create bad times. And I think that's where we are in this cycle right now. I think you have the last 20 years, and everyone blames it on the time of Trump, and that's more personality based than policy based, and I get it. And someone should have took his Twitter away, but not banned him, but took his phone away. But when you look at it right now, we've had past Trump, we've had our last 20 years of leadership in this country, probably 30 years of leadership in this country has been so ass backwards that we shouldn't be surprised that this is where we're at right now. We gave more allegiance and more power. Like and this is my personal opinion. I will say this is not the viewpoint of this entire podcast. This is my personal opinion, but we took away values, Christian Judeo values from the home and the classroom. And now we put more value in TikTok, social media, bullshit internet topics. Instead of, teaching our kids values, we're teaching them at 2-3 years old about the 25 different genders that exist. Like, what is happening? What where is this becoming okay that this is what society's focusing on? And it's just it's sad, but I'm optimistic that enough people right now, and you've seen it in the poll numbers, are so fed up with this crap that something's going to change soon. At least that's my hope. But
I think one of the biggest problem is, if you guys don't mind, is I think the biggest problem is, particularly if we're going to go to political ideologies, they're both so extreme. There's no more you're a moderate, you're in the middle. You could sit there and say, I'm pro-choice, it's up to the women for abortions, but be pro-gun ownership. Like, there's no more of that. You can't be that anymore in today's society. You're either all in on one side or all in on the right. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest problems that's going on today. No one allows someone say go down the middle with a thought process. You have to be one side or the other, and that's it. You have no choice.
Couldn't have said it better myself, but justice system.
This
is going to be the best one we've ever done. I can tell you that right now. And this one's going to be hard to beat. But I will kick it on over to Andrew to introduce our favorite game, how we end every podcast episode, which is Locked Up for What? Go ahead, Andrew. Take it away.
Yes. Speaking of turds who are stuck in jail, shout out to all of you. Locked up for what?
Yeah, can we pause for a second there? If it wasn't for these people, we wouldn't have a good last thing to talk about. So let's give it up to these people.
Yeah.
Right, cheers to the criminals.
Shout out.
This dude looks like a straight movie villain, but go ahead.
Locked up for what? This segment is called Locked Up for What? The members of Guys Night will see a mugshot displayed, and they will have to guess what they got locked up for. The individual's mugshot that is getting displayed is public record. Holy crap, I need to get my brain checked out. Therefore, their privacy is not being invaded. The individual's personal information, such as name, date of birth, and location, as well as the actual charge, will not be shared. Now, I cannot wait for you guys to see this one. This is my personal favorite one. I couldn't wait to... This is the way to start the show. So, Anthony, when you're ready, just show it, man.
I'm excited. Drum roll. Oh my God.
What in God's name is going on here?
Tell me this is not the best one we've ever seen.
This is only the first one we've seen.
Guys, this Harvey Dent looking motherfucker, he's got half a beard.
The only way this would be better if he had the hair on the opposite side of his head.
Yes, I agree.
Hanging down the middle.
There's so many things that this could be.
Why did he go with the pencil thin mustache? I just like he's got the little upper lip hair going instead
of
a full
try
mustache.
Covering the half of the face without the hair, and then going back and forth
before he finished shaving.
I mean, he did.
He goes, wait,
job with
guys, if you're listening right now, you need to go to YouTube at Guys Night Podcast and look at this picture, because if you look at it, if you hold your hand up on the left side of his face, he looks like a straight badass criminal with a beard.
Like Drake.
But if you flip it over to the right side of his face, he becomes Pete. he becomes Pete Davidson.
Yeah, even his eyes are different too.
Do you think the people at the jail?
His eyes are different.
Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, if you do the hand trick, his eyes are different. Like, put your hand up on the screen, and you like his.
Yeah, I think he has two different color eyes.
He has two facial expressions.
He does.
How is that even
with the
possible?
beard? He looks way more sinister.
Do you think? Do you think the people at the jail taking the photos were like, all right, turn left and then turn? Oh no, don't turn right. Don't turn right.
How does he do that? It's two different perps.
It was the man with half a beard.
Could you imagine getting a lineup of all the other people? Like, which one is it? It's like that one. How'd you know? He's the only guy that doesn't have a full beard.
Because he looks like a black and white cookie.
He
He looks like a black and white cookie. Look at him.
No.
Dude,
Do
you,
you
can't
think-
even do the
do you
stand
think
left,
the-
stand right. It's two different people.
Do you think the victims in his crime, he only shows his left side of his face, and then when he's walking away from police, he shows the right side of his face?
That's actually
Dude, that's what I'm
brilliant.
thinking. That's what I'm thinking this
It's-
guy did.
Same.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I'm
hear
gonna go
those-
with that. That's actually very smart.
He thought that he would
Yeah,
get
but
away
hear
with it by
those-
doing that.
Idiots, they'll like put like Sharpie on their face, or they cover their face in like duct tape, or like spray lemon juice on it because they think it can't get picked up by cameras. This guy was one of those guys. He definitely like tried robbing a store or some establishment.
Or he robbed a
and-
drive-through, so you can only see half his
Right,
face.
exactly. So he only showed half of his face to the camera, so that he's like, no, like look at this. I got a beard on the other half of my face. That's not
Bro,
me.
even his eyebrows are different. Like the right side of his face, our left, his eyebrows were threaded, and on the
I
right
just
think he-
side, they're not.
yeah.
You think he
I love
shaves
how
his
well-
balls the same way?
100%. 100%.
What if the hair was? I really wish he had half his hair on his head too, and it was just hair down his whole body, is half a hair, half not. Like he.
I want to
just-
see. I want to see a nude of this guy. I want to see full body to see if it's like the Mason Dixon line, but just like vertical.
We need confirmation. We need
this-
confirmation
this
on what's
is-
going on in the rest of this man's
This
body.
is
Oh my
insane. He
God.
goes from I can't say what I was gonna say. It's probably get us canceled. I'll say it after the show, but that's a doozy of a look that he's got there. Why are his eyebrows so perfectly threaded, but his beard
Only on
so
one side,
perfectly
though.
fucked? Like it's unbelievable.
If you look at his
This guy's
his,
two
his
people.
shaved size, his eyebrows are completely crooked. He's got like a lightning bolt thing going on on that far side. The other
That
side
is
is
This
fine.
guy's-
amazing.
This
That
guy's
is
like using
incredible.
cheat codes in the game. Guess who? Does he
That
have
is
a beard?
incredible. Oh my god, he does.
He has a beard, but he doesn't have a beard.
That is
That's
incredible.
Crazy.
Like
Does
his
he have a beard?
eyes
Yes.
is-
So he doesn't have
incredible.
a shaved face. Yes.
Yes.
For those of you, if you're listening right now, that we're looking at a picture of a man with a shaved head, but only half a beard. It's
Vertical
pretty-
half.
Pretty
Vertical
alarming.
half.
Vertically half left to right. Lateral beard coverage.
Maybe
The
he's the
vertical-
Phantom of the Opera.
Greg, it's the vertical crescent.
Vertical crescent. I know what this guy's charges are. I'm locked in.
I think he robbed a drive-through and only had half his face showing. But I can't even come up with something good. I think his face alone is enough of a joke, and I don't even know. I don't even care
Yeah.
what he did. The crime here is that he shaved half his face and walked out in public and said, "I look good today."
Well, maybe this is a bet that he lost for fantasy football. He came in last place.
And then what he
That
do?
would be
Kill the rest of the
terrible.
fantasy
You just
football league?
happen to get caught.
Arrested. He actually
His
the guy,
beard.
it's actually like a misdemeanor. It just happened to be a bad day for him.
I think he killed his barber halfway through.
Mid
shave.
shave.
Yeah,
he didn't like what he
mid-shave.
was. He didn't like the way he was going, so he killed him. Halfway
I
through.
think-
After he did it, he's like, I probably should have waited.
I think Ukraine hired him to steal dolphins.
Still Dolphins.
I'm just,
gonna-
I can't get over.
Or
it.
this guy just got caught while he was at the barbershop. Like he thought he was laying low for long enough and
Nah,
decided to
there's
go
no
out
This
and
way.
is what
get his
happens
haircut
when
and
you
shave.
vaccinate a Navy SEAL.
Hair falls out, their beard falls out.
Oh no.
This definitely is premeditated. I'm gonna say that this guy was in a gang, and this was part of his initiation, and he got arrested for stabbing someone.
Ooh, that's a
They
good
do
one.
way
too.
worse shit for gang initiation than
Guys.
shaving half a beard.
That's pretty bad.
How
I've
about-
never been in one, so I wouldn't know, Greg.
How about we all? How about we all say something positive about him? I think he has a nice jawline.
on half his face. Yeah, I
Honestly,
can't see the other
Yeah,
half.
half his face. He
Got
does have a nice
smooth
beard
skin.
though. He has
Great,
a nice
great beard, smooth skin. Yeah,
Nice eyebrows.
He does have good skin.
Got a good shaped head for a bald guy.
I mean, if you cover the bearded side, he's Pete Davidson.
Dude,
Cover the
cover the left side. He looks like Drake. Like if you cover the left,
Which left?
Unbelievable.
which left?
bald left.
My left is
All
your
right,
left.
so I'm going with this guy was actually the getaway driver, and he shaved his beard to look like this so he wouldn't get identified in photos while he was driving.
Bro, I just can't believe that.
He's a getaway driver for a
So
bank heist.
when Andrew sent me this picture, I think my response to him was, I opened it up this morning and I went, that's real. Oh my God. And he goes, it's like he's proud of it too.
Got an air of smugness about him.
Oh my
Only on his
god.
left side though.
I do agree though. I think the shave thing is to change his appearance.
I mean, I give him an A for effort.
Yeah.
That's
A
incredible.
for effort.
I mean, on the left, he goes from being a character from the Matrix to the bearded side selling me scratch offs.
He looks
Like,
like a
I-
Sims character that glitched out as you were creating him.
Or, I was
You're
thinking like a Madden character. You're in the middle of making your Madden guy, and you're about to do the finishing touches, and you accidentally hit save, and that's it. Half a beard.
My god. Anyway, what did this guy actually
what's the
do,
verdict?
or
What did
what
he
was
do?
the vague charge, the public information?
Is this game recorded?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you.
Oh.
This was already a depressing episode. I don't think we need to add more.
Oh god.
Well,
no.
we'll allow
Put the
you
cherry on
guys.
top of it.
If
It
you're,
doesn't have to deal with children. I'm sorry. It
if
doesn't
you're
have to deal-
listening right now and you're watching, maybe you guys can come up with your own ideas of what this guy did. But this has been an unbelievable episode. We had a lot of really cool conversations. If you guys are listening and you want to send in ideas, you can follow us at guys_night_podcast on Instagram, our YouTube channel, Guys Night Podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify and Apple, the Guys Night Podcast as well. Hit us up on Instagram and shoot us some questions that you guys would like us to cover. We'll be back next week with some more interesting, fun topics. And man, that I can't even. I'm trying to close this thing out seriously, and
Get
I
his
can't
face
get over
off the
this guy.
screen.
He's
his
like a
face
black
off
and white
the screen.
cookie. I
Get him
can't.
outta
I
here.
can't even do this. Get this guy out of here. But guys, have a wonderful night. Good night from Guys Night. Later.